So Marian, welcome very much to the Telling Our Story series of interviews.
Thank you, Máirín.
I feel like I've got to know you a little bit over the last few months since you've started helping out with the communications team in Ireland. Without further ado, maybe you could just tell me a little bit about yourself, where you were born, where you went to school, and I suppose really how you kind of became interested in becoming a Sister of St. Louis.
Well, I was born in County Mayo in a little village called Ball, just outside of it. And I went to secondary school in St. Louis Convent, Ball. Now, that was a very good experience for me. The school was small. It was very homely. The St. Louis sisters that taught me were very kind and very nice. And there was one in particular that taught me English that I was really very fond of. School was very well run, and we had plenty of friends. It wasn't regimented in any way. And then in my Leaving Cert year, I did think about becoming a sister, but I actually went off to do a post-Leaving Cert course. And it was during that time that I fully decided, yes, I was going to be a Sister of St. Louis. Well, that was my hope anyway. So after that, then I went to the novitiate in Monaghan. It was quite a jaunt from Mayo to Monaghan. And I'd seen the sisters, but I had never seen the first year postulants or the white veil novices, or I didn't really know what was going to be going on in the novitiate. But having been away from home for the PLC course, it sort of broke me into the issue of being away from home. So I wasn't all that homesick because I had already been adjusted. The first year in the novitiate, we were called postulants, and we wore a long black dress with a white collar and a little cape over it and a bonnet. And the bonnet had a long veil down the back of it. It hung down at the back. And then after 12 months, we were admitted. We had reception day, and you got the full uniform that day, except you wore a white veil for the next 2 years. And the first year was a spiritual year. You didn't do any work outside of the convent. You didn't go to the schools, or you didn't have any contact outside. You didn't have contact with your family either for that year. It was meant to be a foundation year. And then at the end of that year, we became known as senior white novices. And that year, then you went going back to the classrooms again and doing whatever jobs you were asked to do. Now, in the novitiate, you learned really the whole idea of how to be a sister. You had a little book called The Customs, and you had another little book called The Constitutions, and you studied those. And the novice mistress was there to answer any questions and to direct you in any way you needed to be directed, and corrected if that was necessary as well. There was a lot of silence. And of course, at that stage, I thought of silence as being part of the rule, and that really was where the virtue lay. But in actual fact, what I learned much later in life was that silence was an end in itself, that it led you into something deeper. It led you into yourself. It led you into the story of God. It led you into communication with God. It taught you a lot of lessons. And today, people would talk about silence as being extremely important. We have all kinds of it now in mindfulness and contemplation and all of that. And
did you find that adjustment to silence difficult, or was it something?
It was actually, yeah, it was. But everybody was doing it. So, it wasn't silence all day either, because you had times of recreation when you were with the other novices and where you chatted and you sat outside, or, we went for walks or whatever kind of recreation, was provided at the time. So the silence wasn't all day, but there was silence usually at meals, and there was a spiritual book. A section from a spiritual book was read at the meals. There was a reader who read that. So you got into the routine during those 3 years. And then at the end of 3 years, you made your first profession of vows, which was poverty, chastity, and obedience. And the poverty was really that you didn't own things yourself. You used them. You used what was there. It didn't mean that you didn't have what you needed, but it did mean that you didn't possess it as such.
Yes,
It was really a lesson in detachment, that now you were about something else rather than the things of this world. And then your obedience in those days was simply, you did what you were told. Nowadays, obedience, you discern between yourself and the person who is asking you to do something. You discern if that is the best way forward. And then the chastity was that really from here on in, you weren't involved with love affairs or anything like that. You were involved with the things of God. Involved with kind of unity with yourself and with God and with the world. That was your new reality. But again, it took time for that idea to mature within yourself. So will I keep going, Máirín?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So you were saying that after the first year you kind of helped out in the school. Like, would you be actually teaching, or at that point?
Well, you could. It would depend on your Leaving Cert results. You could be a junior mistress, or you could be correcting copies, or you could be supervising.
Okay.
You could be doing any of those
what
things.
did you get involved with?
Well, my first year, because I had the home economics, I was in the secondary school in the workroom where the children were learning their sewing techniques. I was helping out with that. And then later on, I was in the national school later on in that year. I had sixth class for a couple of, some weeks, I think.
Yeah.
So I had, a variety of things, really.
Yeah.
So that was kind of, then at the end of those 3 years, you were assigned then to whatever your work was going to be.
Yeah.
Whether you were going to university or you were going to training college, or you could be going on the missions. In my case, and there were 5 others up in the same year as I was, we were all assigned to California.
Right.
Where that was 1957. And California mission had opened in 1949.
Okay.
So that was just 8 years after the opening. And houses were springing up all over the place, St. Louis houses. So they were looking for people to be available to go there. So that was our mission. And I left for there on the 21st of August, 1957. And there was another sister from my year in the novitiate. She was with me. And it was a whole new experience flying from Shannon to Gander. We came down in Gander, and then flying on to Los Angeles and arriving in Los Angeles at midnight. And the first thing that struck me was all the lights that were everywhere, because we had come from rural Ireland where rural electrification had only taken place.
Gosh, yeah, huge.
So it was such a change. And there was a sister there actually meeting us, and she was driving a station wagon. So we were driven home in a station wagon and arrived at our convent in El Monte.
Were there many station wagons in Ireland back then?
I don't think so, actually.
Sort of a vehicle.
Yeah, I remember a Chrysler at home, you know.
Yes.
But I mean, generally speaking, there weren't.
So
this was a whole new ball game, and you were out on the freeway,
Mm-hmm.
cars going hither and yon and flying.
Yes. Very wide
So
roads,
it
6
was
lanes.
all, yeah, it was a
Yes.
couple of lanes in it, you know. So
Yeah.
it was all new. And
the weather, I suppose, as well, even would have been very.
oh, it was very warm when we
Yes.
arrived because it was August. So you would have in temperatures of up in the 90s, late 80s or 90s,
Yeah,
you know.
wouldn't have experienced that at all.
Oh, yeah. And then we arrived at the convent, and there were sisters that stayed up to meet us, the ones that were already in residence there. And there was the smell of rashers and sausages, and there was a fry on for us.
Somebody made you an Irish breakfast, had they?
Yeah, we had the full Irish.
Oh, you
And
didn't want
then
you feeling too homesick.
it was lovely, actually. And then after breakfast, well, it was actually the next day, it was after midnight. So we were all right having breakfast, I suppose.
Yes, of
Then
course, yeah.
I remember the convent was absolutely lovely. We came in the side door, and it was a long corridor, and the shine, the gleam on it would just hit you. It was just so beautiful. And then we were assigned our bedrooms, and I had a lovely bedroom downstairs. There was air conditioning all over the house, and
Well, again, you probably never seen air conditioning in your life at that point.
not at all. We just had the window open and the wind coming in. That was our air conditioning.
Yeah.
But here was proper air conditioning. So the first few days we were coping with the heat first of all, and then we began then to adjust to the routine, and it was a whole different routine, like where you had a month duty on looking after the kitchen. Now you weren't actually, there was a cook to cook the meals, but you had your month, and you had a month on the dining room, and you had a month in charge of the oratory. We called them services. They were chores really, or tasks, and you just slotted into whatever it was. But all the time you had to learn all that was new here.
Yeah.
It's a whole new thing. And added to, of course, having dinner in the evening.
Yes.
You see, we talk about now the cultures having their dinner in the middle of the day, but we were all used to having our dinner in the middle of the day. Now we had dinner in the evening because there wasn't time in the middle of the day, first of all.
Yes.
Like you were in school and the recess time was short enough, the lunch time, you wouldn't get that. You wouldn't get in your dinner at that, at that particular time.
There was an awful lot of readjusting.
Oh, total. And then you had to do shopping. You went with somebody, a driver went with you, and you did the household shopping. And the whole thing of writing a check. Now, I'd never written a check in my life previous to that. So you had that whole thing of writing your check and picking up all the necessities, all the groceries and all the household stuff. And sometimes if things were missing, there was a petty cash box in the kitchen. And myself and my friend from the same year as me, we would walk up to the supermarket with our cash box and buy whatever was missing, if we'd forgotten to get it in the shopping.
Yeah. And of course, the supermarkets were probably a lot larger than what you were used to.
Oh, absolutely. Shopping.
And the choice of food, I'm sure, was also a lot.
It was like big supermarkets now.
Yeah.
The one we went to was Jay's Supermarket. And it's no wonder I remember the name of it, because we walked there quite often in the evenings. And then we had other little chores, kind of the garden outside the front of the house and the back of the house. And, you'd be doing those, taking those in your stride.
And how long were you there before you actually were, say, assigned to teaching, or was it?
We were actually assigned straight away, because the system there was, there was separation of church and state, and the schools we taught in were church schools, where the families paid their tuition for their children to attend these schools. So consequently, behaviour was very good. If you're paying for something, you treasure it more than if it's given to you for nothing.
Yeah.
So behaviour was good. Numbers were very big. I had 59 8-year-olds.
And what school did you start off in?
I started off with third grade with 59.
In which school?
In El Monte.
El Monte, the Nativity School, yeah.
Yeah, Nativity School in El Monte. And I was
59, that's huge.
It was a huge number. And I remember during the year, I got another little boy. And I remember saying to the principal, who was also a nun, I have the right number now. And she said, I said I had 59 before. She said, actually, you had 9 too many. 50 would have been, the
normal size.
Yeah, the normal size.
Okay.
So that was then the second year I was. Then when summer came, then summer holidays, we went to college for 6 weeks. Well, actually, no. Before that, we went on retreat for 8 days, and we went away to a retreat house, which was very nice. And we came back and we got ready, and we went to college, and we stayed in the college. It was residential, and we were there for 6 weeks. And you started there on doing modules. I did the first year. I did module of history and sociology, and then you did the philosophy subjects as well. But it was done over time. Yeah. And at the end of your 6 weeks, you came home and then went to the beach for 2 weeks. That was holidays. And that was absolutely lovely because we had houses. We rented houses by the beach. Yes. Sometimes you got a house from a family or whatever. And you were right on the beachfront. Oh, wow. Just walk out. And of course, we had made the most of it. We had a great time. Lovely. And there was great freedom, And then you came back and you started into getting ready for school again for the following year. Wow. The second year I was there, I had second class, and that was the first communion class. Oh, nice. So that was very nice, preparing the children for first communion. And at the end of that, then on the 25th of August, the 15th of August, we always got the list of transfers where you were transferred to, or if you weren't transferred. So I was transferred to St. Joseph's in Long Beach. Okay. And I was there for the next 6 years. Now, the routine was the same. There was nothing really different about it. Yeah. And I spent 1 year in Sacramento, which was the capital of California. Spent a year there. And I spent the following 2 years in San Dimas. Now, along the way, I had got my degree and I got my California teaching credential. I had both of those. And after 11 years, I decided to come back to Ireland for a year. And I came back in 1968. But when I came back then, I came back with the intention of going back to California. But 1 year followed another. And I just never went back. Right. So when you came back, where did you come back to? I came back to Bal, my own hometown where I was originally from. And they had a secondary school there. So I was helping out in the secondary school. And then to get fully qualified for teaching in Ireland, I went to St. Mary's in teaching training college in Belfast for 1 year. And that qualified me then to teach in either primary or secondary school for certain subjects, primary school for all subjects. So I had to do Irish as further qualification, which, didn't present any problem really. That's right. You were saying to me last week that it's that you learned your subjects in Bal through Irish when you went to school. That's right. When I was at school, it was a Class A school, and we did our history, geography, maths, physiology, domestic science, all through Irish. We didn't do French, or obviously didn't do English, but the languages we didn't do, but the rest of the subjects, we did them through Irish. So it wasn't a problem, doing a qualification. You were fortunate. Yeah, I was fortunate. Yeah. And I would have liked Irish anyway as a subject. So, So that was more or less my first primary school experience was in Kiltimagh. Okay. Where we had a convent as well. And I taught there for the next 8 years. Okay. And that, was very nice. Then at the end of that 8 years, another sister would like to come to Kiltimagh because her parents were old and they were living nearby, and she would have liked to be near them. So I was asked, would I go to Bundoran? Okay. And I had no problem. I said yes. So I went to Bundoran, which was a great experience for me because I was happy there from the day I went. And it wasn't too far. It was only a county or two away from home anyway. So I was there in Bundoran for the next 30 years.
Wow.
And I had a lot of friends there. I loved the school. The school was amalgamated, the boys and the girls' primary school amalgamated. And there was the principal was a male and the vice principal was a sister, as long as that there was a sister there to do it. My first principal there was John Campbell, and he was a wonderful man, a wonderful Christian man, and he had a qualification in psychology, and it really stood to him. He was very good with staff and very nice with staff, and you could always go to him and there would never be anything told afterwards.
That's great.
You keep all confidential and very understanding.
Yeah.
So my years there were very happy. After the couple of years there, the sister that was the principal, vice principal rather, she retired. So I was asked, would I be vice principal there? No, I said yes. But really, John did most of the work. There wasn't really an awful lot to do, except if he was away.
And sorry, was that's a primary school, was it, in Bundoran?
Primary school.
Primary school, okay.
Primary school.
So you ended up really doing most of your teaching was primary school, really?
I did, and I loved it. And then in Bundoran as well, I got into doing adult literacy, which was the love of my life, really. I loved that work. And I had it was all men that I had actually, and they were lovely because they would chat, like we're chatting now. They would chat away about different things, and it wouldn't be just the literacy.
Yes.
But they would ask you, like, how do I sign a check? How do I use a calculator? What's an atlas? Any kind of question at all could come up. And then you might have a
great sense of satisfaction because you really were empowering these people.
Absolutely. And it just felt so good.
Yeah.
And to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Because, I realized that people had empowered me. And now it was just so lovely to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and then I'd helped a few students, with Irish, because that wasn't a problem after I retired.
Yeah.
I helped them, for their Leaving Cert Irish, the things, because I got tips from the teacher on what to do with them.
Right.
And again, that was lovely work.
Oh, very satisfying. Yeah. And I'm sure those students really appreciated it.
Well, I appreciated being able to help them, and we would have fun. Like they'd come into me and we might start with a cup of tea.
Yes.
And they'd say, will you have a cup?
Yeah.
And it was lovely because we'd be quite relaxed and then we'd begin to do a bit of work,
Yes, yeah.
So
how long were you in Bundoran then in total? Was it 30 years?
30 years. Wow. I left Bundoran in 2014.
Okay.
I was we left the convent. I retired in 2000.
Right.
And I had a lovely retirement. It was really very nice. The school, the staff there, the colleagues, they made everybody's retirement very special.
Oh, that's lovely.
So it was lovely. It was, we had a mass.
Just goes to show how much they appreciated all their teachers.
Well, they did. And I was the last sister teaching in the school.
Oh, wow.
The last sister at St. Louis. Now, there was a Mercy sister that had come in the meantime. And she was there. She would be now, there. But on the final day, there was mass in the church. And it was a double thing because it was the end of the St. Louis in the school. So, and that was also my retirement. And
that must have been quite poignant for you, not just your retirement, but also, you being the last sister of St. Louis.
That's right. Yeah, they made it very special. And one of the teachers sang the psalm and another one did a beautiful bidding prayer, They made the day just so lovely.
Wow.
And then we went out for something to eat in the evening, it was lovely.
Yeah. So you stayed on in Bundoran for quite a while after you retired.
I did.
Yeah.
I when the year I retired, then I went with a friend. We went on a bit of a tour. We went to Rome,
Oh, lovely.
and for 2 weeks, and that, we toured
Mm.
right around. It was a package tour,
Yeah.
so it was lovely. And
That's
I came back then to Dublin, and I stayed in Dublin for the next 2 years. I
right.
did, first year of retirement, I did the things I wanted to do.
Yeah, of
I did
course. Yeah.
computer course, and I did, you wouldn't think it now, I've forgotten. And I did a course down in creative writing in the Writers'
Oh,
Centre,
lovely.
because I'd always an interest in that.
Yeah.
So I did that, and that was lovely as well.
And did you do any writing from it?
I did, actually. I did, yes.
Oh.
I published my stories and poems,
Oh.
and I have them. I gave copy to every one of my friends free.
Oh wow.
I didn't know you at that time, Máirín.
Are there any more available?
Yeah, I have one. You'll get it.
Yeah, I'd like to see it sometime. No, I
You'll
don't
get
be
it.
parting with your last precious copy.
Yeah. I know. Somebody had said to me, look, if you don't publish those, they'll just be thrown out.
Yeah.
And I just didn't want that.
Yeah, no, of course.
So I put them together.
Yeah.
And I just wrote on the front page, and I gave them to the people I taught with them, my nieces and nephews and any friends that I had, they all got me, family and that. Oh. So I did that, and that was lovely. And after 2 years then, the second year I was there, I went down to Milltown Park, and I did spirituality course.
Oh, lovely, yeah.
It was lovely. It was really a nice course,
Yeah.
So I did a year of that, did a diploma in that. And I could have done the master's the next year, but I really thought I don't want to be doing a thesis.
Yes.
Too old for that now. Although nearly everyone in the class was much about the same as myself. But anyway, I didn't do it. And I'm not sorry.
Yeah.
So anyway, then after that, I came back to Bundoran, and it was life as per normal. Yeah. Except I used to, some days I would go over to the school, and sometimes I'd be asked to do something for somebody that was out. I'd get a call in the morning when I come over. And I did enjoy that very much, all that kind of thing. And I did bits of writing as well, various bits. So in 2004, the convent was closed, and we moved. Some people moved away altogether, and 6 of us moved into a housing estate in Bundoran. We had 2 separate houses, and we had number 4 and number 5, White Maple Drive. So we lived there, 3 in each house. And again, that was very nice because I love gardening. So I developed the garden there. And the people that were with me, there were 2 others with me, they were very easy company. And they did the things that they liked. Maura, that was with me, she did a lot of writing. She was writing her memoirs. And she liked reading. She loved reading. And she would tell you, what things. And then Nuala, that was there, loved walking. And she would go off walking, and I'd be out in the garden. Yeah. And then we did our own bit of cooking, and we had a lovely lady, Helena, that came in, and she cooked for us. And then we had Margaret that came in, and she did some cleaning. Margaret was lovely as well. So we had company. We had people coming in. Yeah. We weren't on our own, and we got to know the people around about, And we were friendly with them. Yeah. With different families, So even some people up on the estate. Yeah. And while we didn't live in anybody's pocket, we hoped we were a friendly presence there.
Yes. Yeah. So you were there for you were there for nearly 10 years, was it, in Bundoran?
11.
Okay.
And we were up in the 2 houses up on the White Maple Drive, number 4 and number 5. Right. And gradually people began to leave. 2 went to Dublin, and then there were just 4 left. And they decided it wasn't viable, really. It wasn't sustainable. So we decided to withdraw from there.
Okay.
And again, as I said, I seem to be the last one leaving every place, but I was last leaving there as well. And just put the key in the door on October morning, actually it was, and came down to Knock. Now, the day I left, I had very good friends in Bundoran, and they came up to the house that morning. And Máirín, who was my friend, she came back with me when I was putting the key in the door. And they drove down with me down to Knock.
Oh, that was nice.
And we came into them. They brought some of my stuff. People had brought down my stuff for me. They were very, very good.
Oh,
and I lived on my own for a year then, because this house I'm in now was on the market.
Yes.
And this Brook Lodge where I am now, it was still on the market. And the sale fell through. So after a year, I got the keys. And I'm in here since.
Right.
This is my 6th year here.
Right.
And what do I do here? Well, I really, I suppose, I mind the house.
Yes.
I do the garden, I do the maintenance, I look after the money. I do things in the church, I read, and I'm part of the prayer guides here.
And what, say the prayer guides now, what would that look like?
That's in the summer. It's the summer from May on until October. They have prayer sessions, and there are
in the Basilica, is it?
Not necessarily, there's a prayer guide centre.
Okay.
There's an actual centre for the prayer guides.
Yeah.
So they have them at 12, at 4:15, and at 8 in the evening, 8:15.
Would you be leading a prayer service?
Leading prayer, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
You do what's called guided prayer.
Okay.
And it's scripture based.
Yeah.
What you actually do is you settle people as you do for all kind of prayer, and then you read a passage from scripture. You pick a passage, and then you guide the participants that are there into that story, whatever it is. For example, if you took the story of the Samaritan woman at the well, you would set the scene, and you would invite them to close their eyes and imagine that they are there watching Jesus engaging with the Samaritan woman, and how he looks at her and how he speaks to her and what she says, and how he says, "Give me a drink," and she says, "How can I give you a drink? You have not brought a pail along." And then he tells her, "If you only knew who I was, I would give you rivers of living water." And she's totally taken by him, totally taken. And she goes back to the village and she tells them all she has met the Messiah.
Wow.
Now you would guide the people into that. And then what you would do is, when the woman leaves, you would invite them to sit at the well with Jesus.
Okay.
And to talk about their concerns and listen to what Jesus has to say to them. You first have to get a measure of quietness within people so that they will be able to participate in that.
Okay. And how do you create that sense of quietness before you?
You do it at the very beginning by the breathing. Breathe slowly.
Okay.
Put your feet flat on the ground.
Yeah.
Put your hands on your lap open, and just keep breathing, and just breathe in peace, breathe out any kind of troubles or trauma or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you let that for a while before, and you have music in the background, a little bit of music.
Sounds lovely.
So that you've got people, aware of their inner sense of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then you invite them, at a particular point, as I was saying, to talk.
Yes.
To Jesus. Speak out your troubles, whatever they are, how you feel, how you really are.
Yeah.
Not how you'd like to be, but how you are. And then listen. And in the quiet, the thoughts will come into their minds, and they'll get a sense of peace. And then after a time, you lead them out of that and back into the reality of where they are in the prayer room.
All right. Wow.
And that's the way the guided prayer goes.
Yeah. That takes that's quite a skill, really, to be able to do that.
It is a skill. And you see, you have to be aware of, well, I'm being told all the time, because being a teacher, you're inclined, when you get into a situation, you're inclined to teach.
Yes.
But it's not about teaching. It's about the Holy Spirit and allowing the Holy Spirit to speak to the person, to get them into that atmosphere of listening, being able to listen interiorly.
Yes. Yeah.
To get into that quiet. We get a lot of that nowadays in different ways. We get a lot of, this could be centering prayer, or it could be Lectio Divina, or any of these types of prayer.
Yes.
They're popular nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah.
In today's world.
Yeah.
So
and they're very necessary.
Very necessary, because there is so much bustle and hassle and noise all the time.
Yes, yeah.
And you'll be told that noise is anything that gets in the way of what you're meant to be really hearing.
Yeah. And so you're still involved in that, or do you still do
I'm
that?
still involved, but I think at this point I'm kind of moving out a bit of it, because I haven't. You see, we did 8 days in a trot, and you were full on for the 8 days.
Yes,
and it was. You need energy for it. Now you might like doing the session, so I am in a position now where I say I'll just be on call.
Yes. Yeah, if somebody can't make it, you'll step in or whatever. Yeah.
Rather than taking on a whole week.
Yeah.
So that's kind of more or less.
That's what keeps you busy these days.
It keeps me busy. And then the other thing that keeps me busy is writing for musings.
Yeah, yes. You've been fantastic in the last few months, I have to say, since you came on board. I don't know what I'd do without you, Marian. And now I've pushed you into doing an interview and everything. So, it's been great. The one thing I'd love to hear from you is just, I suppose there's lots of, younger sisters now in Africa. And I suppose just if you have any words of wisdom for either, young sisters kind of starting on their journey, and also sisters, I suppose, who may end up heading off on mission to another country, if any words of wisdom from them, from your own experiences.
Well, I'd be saying for anyone, and not even for any young person today, you need to have your own inner resources well built up. You need to have a store inside of yourself, because people may help you, but that's all outside of you. You take it in and you make it your own.
Yes.
But you need prayer and you need reflection to build up your inner resources. I remember I was saying this to you, Marian, I remember somebody saying you keep your tank full, and your tank is your own inner strengths. You get to know yourself. And you get to know how you get hassled. And then you need to know how to deal with that. And you do that by learning techniques. You always need to be learning your whole life, really. And you need to be reflecting.
Yes.
And you need to be asking for help.
Yeah.
Asking God, people around you, listening to what they have to say and asking for their help. You need to be at one with yourself, at one with God, at one with the world. And you can only do that through the power of the grace of God, the help of other people, relationships, helpful relationships, comforting relationships. And you empower other people, and other people will empower you.
Yeah.
I think, if you go out a bit to other people and try to empower them, but you must always come back, because that urge to do that has to come from within yourself.
Yes.
So I would have said to students, like, if you only say a small prayer, but say a prayer every day.
Yeah.
Every day. A prayer of thanks, prayer of gratitude, because we actually, in the end of the day, we don't own anything. It's all gift.
True.
all given to us,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
so to be grateful, to be able to say sorry when you've gone wrong,
Yeah.
and to be able to praise other people,
Mm-hmm.
as well. If they do something, you won't always be able to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There'll be times when you'll be biting your tongue, but you can, make an effort to do it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all about effort. It's about prayer, asking for help,
Yes.
and being
Not being
thankful.
afraid. Yes.
And being thankful. And as regards people younger, I'd say that for anybody, sisters, or for any young people, I think they need it in today's world, where there's so much about them to distract them.
Absolutely.
You need it more than you need to be your own person.
Yes.
And
to have the strength of your own convictions, really.
And things have to sit with you.
Yeah.
Now, as regards people going on missions or anything, I think that's a different ball game. First of all, if they're in a religious order, it has to be part of the charism of the order. It's, what they do. Secondly, they need to feel called to it. It's whatever is their charism and whatever they're called to.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Some people just go as lay missionaries, and that's what they feel called to. Within our charism is Centunum, that all may be, we know that already.
Yes, of course,
that all may be one. That's our charism. And that oneness is with yourself.
Yes.
Like not to be pulled apart within yourself.
Yeah.
Be at one with yourself.
Yeah.
At one with the world, at one with God.
Yes.
Yeah. I think.
Yeah. It's a very powerful charism, really.
It is. It is.
Yes.
And it has come down to us from the very first Louis Colmar away in the 1700s.
Yeah.
It's come along the way. And it is about being at one.
It's a simple concept, but it's also
it's difficult to put into practice.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is.
It's the whole idea of this. Like there are days when you don't feel at one with yourself.
Yeah.
Like I didn't this morning when my computer wouldn't work for me. I was anything but at one with myself.
Well, it's behaved now anyway for the last hour anyway.
Well, I had tripped to Morris, to get it back. It's Aircom really. It's air really.
Yeah.
That's
might be time to switch providers, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's on the cards.
Yeah.
But at least we've got this done, Máirín, which I'm delighted about.
And you know what? It's been an absolute pleasure, Marian. I told you I'd really enjoy this, and I have, and it's been fantastic.
Right.
So thank you so much for taking part.
And thank you, Máirín.
Very interesting. I'm going to stop the record button now, but we'll have a quick chat anyway, just before.
Yeah.
There we go. Stop record.
Like a bird on a tree,